about here. Of course, it's not about your dragon, quotation mark. It's about your subconscious. Now, why is that even important? Again, as your hypnotherapist, I'm going to tell you because this is the stuff they should have taught us in school and they didn't. And this is why a lot of people in this day and age suffer with ADD, ADHD, anxiety, depression, burnout, and on, addiction, right? All these things. Where actually, if you could train your dragon appropriately, none of these things would lead to suffering. In fact, usually the side effect, or naturally what evaporates when people work with me, Susan Urban Hypnotherapy, are those things. So it's not like we're fixing anxiety or depression or burnout or anything like that. No, we're helping you sharpen your edge. So I explain to my students, I'm like, look, the goal is to help you become a sharpshooter, right? Not to fix whatever. That's going to happen automatically and naturally anyway. So how do you train your dragon? All right. Again, we're talking about your subconscious. Now, why is it so important to train your subconscious? Because, in a nutshell, your subconscious is the one that is in control, in charge of your behaviors. So any behavior, and even your limiting and empowering beliefs and your emotions. So if right now you're in a place in your life where you might feel stuck, or you feel like, I know exactly what I want, I know why I want it, I even know, like, I have a plan, but something inside of me is holding me back. I keep telling myself it's not going to work out, or these other people trying to talk me out. In other words, something isn't going the way. So now you're running into this conflict, right? Even though you want this, but something is holding you back. So that is often that resistance that comes up inside. And guess what? That right there is driven and fueled by your subconscious. And if we don't get your subconscious on board, then think about sitting on a dragon that is not trained, that is literally out of hand, or a wild horse, or even, like, we are big dog lovers and we always adopt our dogs from the shelter. And not to compare dogs to humans, but the way behavior works, whether we're training a dragon or a dog, quite frankly, or a human, it works very much the same. Because that dog, for example, from the shelter probably has some really bad habits that do not work in my home, right? And so we have to retrain this dog, our mind, the dragon, so to speak, so that, right, when I say to that dog, sit, that dog now understands what I mean very clearly, very congruently. And this is exactly what we want to do with your mind, particularly with the subconscious. So again, the whole point of training your dragon is, which is your subconscious, is because your subconscious is in charge of your behaviors, your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, and all those things that go on autopilot. You see? And then when people complain to me, I wish I could be more confident. I wish I weren't so self-conscious. I wish I weren't so anxious. Right there, then I already know that their subconscious, unfortunately, is still running an outdated old program that is not helping the person in this situation. For example, the fear of public speaking is the number one fear, like, across the board by far. So many people suffer with this, and it logically makes no sense because these are educated, intelligent, smart, hardworking people. They literally have, like, all the bells and whistles behind their name and even in front of their name. And it's like, this makes no sense. Yeah, because there's something in their subconscious that is literally stopping these people in their tracks, causing them to feel fear, causing them to feel self-conscious, causing them to be like, oh my God, there's no way I could speak in front of these people. So yeah, so now there's one part, the conscious, like, no, but you should, and you have to, and you need to, and this would be so good for you because you could help a lot of people and you'll get paid a lot of money, and all those logical reasons. Great, except biologically has not caught up yet. And so the biologically is what causes the friction, the resistance, the anxiety. And this is why, as a hypnotherapist, I'm less interested in the person's logic and intelligence, because the truth is that is already there. We need to look at, wait a minute, who's causing these problems? Who's the one? That's like being on a ship, right? Imagine there's one commander in chief, the captain of the boat. Yes, one, which is your conscious mind, which is important because the captain of the ship decides we're going to go there, we're going to sail there. Perfect, right? That's typically all the captain has to do, and then sit back and relax and watch the show. And the rest is up to the crew members. That's your subconscious. And your subconscious, 95% versus 5%. Who do you think is going to be stronger? If there are certain crew members that are not trained up to today's standards, that are maybe they're lagging, maybe they missed the class, maybe they are still doing things with the old manual, well, then this ship is not going to have a good ride, or whatever that's called, float, whatever, you see? And so that's why, as a hypnotherapist, we go down under the deck, so to speak. We find those 2, 5, 7, whatever crew members that are not trained up to the standards that we need. And once we retrain those, now the conscious and the subconscious are in alignment with each other. That means the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. And even more importantly, now that resistance is gone, that friction is gone, that fear is gone, and you can expect smooth sailing. Well, not quite exactly accurate, because here's the thing. Peace doesn't come from lack of struggle or expecting, oh, I'm going to have no problems. There's going to be no wind, and there's going to be no storms, and there's going to be no rain. Obviously, that's delusional. That's not the goal. The goal is, even though I know I'm going to run into storms, I'm going to run maybe even into an iceberg, hopefully not, right? But regardless of that, peace comes from being able to count on yourself, to know that regardless what life is going to bring me, I have enough self-mastery. I can be in control, in command of me, and I know that I can get through any situation. And I can do that while I count on myself, while I count on being in control, being like, so imagine, right, that sharpshooter. Imagine being able to move through your day with clear, predictable, predatory focus and confidence, where that inner doubt and critic has disappeared. That's peace. Because now, right, your system is aligned with, I know what I'm capable of. I want to do this. I understand the risks. No problem. I get it. People are going to reject me. Things could go wrong. No problem. I'm going to do it anyway. So there's a new level of sort of resilience that builds, a new level of confidence and self-esteem that builds inside of you, that, by the way, has always been there. But I explain to my clients, most of the time it's buried underneath a lot of noise, and that's the noise we got to clear. And once we clear that, smooth sailing. I mean, like, again, it's probably a bad metaphor, but you get my point. So that's how you train a dragon. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't even tell you how to do it yet. In a nutshell, let me give you a bad example of how most people train their dragon, so to speak, and then wonder why they're getting bad results. Let me give you an example of a client of mine who insists that nobody likes him. Nobody loves him. Everybody says no to him. Everybody rejects him. He's not lovable. He's not likable. There's something wrong with him. He's a failure. And this goes on and on and on and on. Okay. Now, I am not taking away that up until now, that might have been his life experience. I understand. That's what he experienced up until now. It's important for us to recognize that and to validate that. I got it. But, and here's the big but, guess what? Your subconscious needs very clear, concise commands. No confusion, instead clarity. And if I tell myself over and over, nobody likes me, I'm a failure, people don't want me, I get rejected all the time. If that's what I believe, and if that's what I think, even if that's what life has given me up until now, but that's what I keep thinking and focusing on. Literally, the command to my subconscious very clearly is, hey, do more of this. Get rejected, don't get liked, don't get loved, people don't, right? And so, guess what? Now that is going to become more of your reality because that's the command you have been giving yourself. So if I were to work with somebody like that right now, right here, I would ask them, most importantly, okay, I get it. That was your environment. That was the conditions up until now. That's your life experience up until now. What is it that you want? Regardless whether you believe it yet, regardless whether you think this is attainable, regardless whether, for now, what is it that you want? And the minute you start to imagine yourself being in a relationship, the minute you start to say, well, I would like to be liked. I would like people to appreciate me. I would like to be approved of. I would like people to, go on a date with me. Now we're giving the subconscious a different carrot, and the subconscious now has a clear, compelling picture that it is that you want. And now your subconscious is going to start changing your behavior so that you can move toward that. And guess what? What happens inside automatically and naturally, you're gonna, and this is gonna take a little bit more work, but you are gonna start to see yourself as with more self-esteem, more lovable, more likable. You start to see yourself somebody, sitting in a cafe with somebody chatting, and you're curious about that person, and you're feeling playful, and you're right. And so now you're giving your subconscious much, much better ideas, thoughts, beliefs, suggestions as to what it is you want, which is also super clarity. And, a lot of times what I will then hear is, yeah, but for now, we got to put that away. I get that there's probably plenty of objections and rejections and how this is not going to work. None of that is something that we want to focus on, because then we're once again giving the subconscious mixed messages when actually the subconscious needs clarity, not confusion. So the message here, the whole point of this video, begin to think, what do you want? Start focusing on your compelling future. Start focusing on, why is that so important to you? What's in it for you when you have that? And what will that do for you? And begin to dream and fantasize. Because here's the thing. We all kind of act like psychic mediums at times. Oh, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And what if this bad thing? And that's a very bad suggestion to your subconscious, because now you're telling it exactly what you don't want. When the truth is, already, if you are this psychic medium, you can literally flip that to, what do you want the way you want it? And begin to dream and fantasize and imagine about that. And the more you do that, and the more consistently you do that, the more your subconscious is going to get the right message, the right memo, and your system is going to start to move toward that outcome. Because again, your subconscious is controlled by your conscious. The commander in chief, the captain of the boat, tells the crew members, hey, do this. But remember, if those suggestions are bad, then we can't blame the crew members for doing a bad job. And instead of sailing from New York to Hawaii, we end up on the rocks of New Jersey, somewhere that, right? So we must first understand, right, how to train your dragon. What are you thinking on a consistent basis? What are you feeling on a consistent basis? And what are you suggesting for yourself? And if people live in a lot of fear and insecurity and self-doubt, then those become suggestions to your subconscious, your dragon, you see? And that's when people will complain to me, they feel stuck and they feel blocked. And then when I do a bit of investigation, I'm like, yeah, do you see why? This is actually a very good problem to have, because you can fix it easily. And again, hypnotherapy, not just any kind of hypnotherapy, Susan Urban hypnotherapy happens to be fantastic, showing you how you can, literally, this is about self-mastery, the relationship between the conscious and the unconscious. Once you understand that, number one, there is a relationship there, but nobody taught us how to solidify, how to really get into a good, healthy intimacy connection with the unconscious, and then train it so that we can be in alignment, right? Get rid of those fears and the irrational fears I'm talking about, or even the chronic anxiety, and instead learn how to lead yourself, right? Then, I mean, think about just even the metaphor of a dragon. Huge, epic, powerful, right? So again, if there's 10,000 crew members versus one captain, if there really is a conflict, if there really is, who do you think's going to win? The elephant or the mouse? So same thing here. When you train your dragon powerfully, it will do, like, literally, this becomes a well-oiled machine. And then all you have to do is just, place the orders. Boom, boom, boom. And the subconscious, unconscious, to me, they're one and the same. Obviously, it's much more complicated than, but just for the sake of this video, it then becomes just, life becomes so much easier and freer and funner and better, and literally want to get to the next level faster. This is the thing that gives you the edge. First step is always how to train your dragon. And by the way, our dragon has already been trained. Unfortunately, not by us. And our dragon has been trained with all these different programs before the age of 10. So that is where, the challenge is at. And again, as your hypnotherapist, I show you which of these programs are no longer working for you, which of them have to go, which of them can we replace them with, and then you look at your life and you're like, oh my God, this was life-changing. Yeah, it's supposed to be life-changing. That's the whole point. So I hope this made sense. So again, very, very quickly, in a nutshell, okay, simply stated, become clear. What are you constantly thinking about? What are you constantly focusing on? What are you constantly obsessed about? All the what ifs about the bad future and how this is going to go bad and that's going to go bad and I'm a failure and this is not going to work out and why doesn't da 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 da, and how come, when my kids move out, then I will, which really then you sort of like become a victim and a slave to conditions, to something outside, when actually, if you get clear, wait a minute, these thoughts are going to become my reality. These limitations and fears are what are going to become my reality. And then swap those and say, wait a minute, what do I want instead? And begin to imagine, what do you want? How do you want it? How will you know that you have it? What will that do for you? What's important to you about that? And start marinating in that future. And your subconscious will very quickly catch on. And now you wake up in the morning and you start to see opportunities that, wouldn't you know, are in alignment with exactly what it is you wanted. Coincidence? Accident? No. Training. Alignment. That's what this is. And of course, if you want more, you know where to find me. I'll see you soon.